Bonjour tout le monde, beaucoup de gens ici aujourd'hui. Hi everybody. Great to see you. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Stephen. Now, before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that those of us here in person are gathered on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I encourage you to think about the presence of the Indigenous peoples, past and present, who have called these lands home since time immemorial. Donc avec ça, je vais commencer avec le discours propre, mais peut-être je pourrais commencer par dire que c'est un honneur d'être la présidente du Conseil du Trésor. It's a great honor to be the president of the Treasury Board. And of course, the foremost obligation of someone in this position, therefore me, is to oversee about $450 billion of federal expenditures every year. And that is a job that's enshrined in statute. But there's another job of the president of the Treasury Board, and that is to oversee the government's digital strategy, which is what brings me here today. And I'm smiling because this is such an exciting part of the job, and I'm sure you find this in your daily life as well. In all of the work that you're doing in IT and in systems development and in revitalizing the way in which we do our work, it is so exciting to be at the forefront of innovation. And that's what I feel every day in overseeing the government's implementation of our digital strategy. And so that's what I want to discuss with you today. We're going to be talking about the digital ambition strategy. We're going to discuss IT infrastructure, systems and applications. And the goal of all of this is to provide the most secure and accessible and reliable systems that we can for the people of this incredible country. And I know that there's going to be some international participation going forward. And so some of what I'll discuss will apply not only to the Government of Canada, but certainly lessons can be learned beyond that scope as well. Donc, on doit diriger tout au long de cette évolution en adoptant un état d'esprit axé sur le numérique, afin de rester pertinent et digne de confiance. So, what's our plan? What is this digital ambition strategy? How do we conceptualize it? How do we break it down? And we need to understand that in order to know how we can actually implement. And I know Stephen and Dom, who you've just heard from, have been doing great work. And frankly, I didn't know about this baton, and I was wondering how I could get into that little frame and maybe get the baton passed to me one day. I'm not sure if that's possible. But the way I think about it and the way we need to break it down is really to think about three things. We need to talk about people, we need to talk about policy, and we need to talk about the accompanying technology. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And in particular, la réalité est que nous manquons de talent numérique dans le service public. Nous avons besoin plus de talent. Comment est-ce que nous pourrons accueillir le talent nécessaire pour notre stratégie numérique? How can we access talent? How can we grow talent? Raise your hand if in your respective domains, talent is an issue. I just want to see. I just want to see how many people are thinking about talent and upskilling, reskilling, ensuring that we are hiring people in the areas that we need to in order to grow this thing, grow this strategy. So for us in the Government of Canada, there are two parts of this people piece, and that is recruitment and training. And you can't have one without the other. And in fact, training is even more broad because we have people who want to move into this sector in the government now. And so reskilling is part of that, and it's something we take extremely seriously. So I want to give you an example of some of the innovation that we're doing in the area of acquiring or hiring new talent in the area of recruiting. And that is, in particular, the GC Digital Talent Platform. And that, has anyone heard, who's heard of the GC platform? Okay, because you know, when you're a minister, you're sitting behind a desk and you don't always know the extent to which some of the great initiatives that you're talking about are really utilized and understood throughout the entire governmental system. So this digital platform is amazing. It's amazing because it circumvents other ways of hiring, and in particular, somewhat paper-based ways of hiring that can take very long periods of time, and says on this platform, we're going to do something different. We're going to actually allow the process to be much shorter for this particular area of work. And now we have about 23,000 active applicant profiles. 75% of those are external to the Government of Canada, and we have 830 pre-qualified applicants right now. That is applicants who are ready to be paired up with digital opportunities across government. So you can see that that innovation is an excellent way to recruit. And I am so pleased with the way it is evolving. And we need to do more of that, and we need to share those lessons internationally because we have something to offer here. Now let's move on to policy. In the area of policy, the key point that I want to mention is the policy on service and digital that has been in place since 2020. Now that policy is allowing us to center our services on the client, et c'est nécessaire. Nos services doivent être centrés sur le client à l'aide de méthodes et d'outils numériques. And so what we're doing in this policy is to ensure that it is, first of all, evergreen, that it can evolve with the changing technological environment, et de s'assurer que le gouvernement peut fonctionner et élaborer, fournir des services centrés sur le client, comme j'ai dit, et aussi d'utiliser la technologie nouvelle. Et comment est-ce qu'on peut le faire? Well, maybe it would help now if I go to the third category and talk about some of the technology that is at the heart of the overarching strategy from a policy standpoint. And I'll start with AI. Certainly a buzzword, certainly something that everyone is thinking about in today's environment, whether you're in the health sector or the finance sector or the mining sector, and of course in government. Because one of the greatest things about harnessing AI is that we can render government more efficient. We can offer our services to Canadians more efficiently. Now I want to do another raise your hand. Can you raise your hand if you're using AI now in your governmental work? It's really hard to see, but yeah, okay, good. So that's not surprising to me because we have the tools necessary here in government to harness AI, to utilize AI to our advantage. And I know that there are government departments that use AI now. I know, for example, in public safety and ESDC, that AI is used for making their processes, application processes, more efficient. But what are we doing at the Treasury Board in this area? Par exemple, nous avons
une guide pour l'intelligence artificielle. When I first came into this office in July last year, my first question is, what are we doing in the area of advancing technological developments, our digital strategy? I signed the guide on artificial intelligence so that we can use generative AI every day in the workplace with the supervision of managers. And of course, what is the existential dichotomy that we have to be thinking about with artificial intelligence? It is, on the one hand, understanding the risks, whether it is threats to democratic institutions, threats of cyber attacks, risks to privacy on the one hand, and on the other hand, ensuring that we are utilizing AI to render our own work more efficient. And so that is the dichotomy that we're always thinking about in government, because we do have obviously an obligation to adhere to the law, privacy law, for example. And so that guide on generative AI takes into account that dichotomy and seeks to find a resolution or solution to the use of generative AI in the workplace. And then this year, I issued the second version of that guide. And when I was being briefed on it, I said to the officials briefing me, we have to make this evergreen. We have to make this a policy that we can amend at any time, because that is what technology demands of us. C'est nécessaire chaque jour d'examiner la situation et décider si nous devons confirmer d'autres provisions dans la guide. So that's on the AI front. And I'm sure you're going to have much discussion about AI over the course of this conference. The second aspect of the technological piece that I want to talk about is in the area of cyber. So when I was in the portfolio of national defense, of course, we spoke about cyber and cyber attacks in particular frequently. And what we saw when Russia further invaded Ukraine in February of 2022 was that there was an increase in cyber attacks, not only on governmental systems, but in the private sector also. Et nous avons entendu qu'il y avait des situations où on a besoin plus de choses où on peut protéger notre système. Et comment est-ce qu'on peut le faire? And so within government, as we saw the rise of DDoS attacks and as we saw the rise of cyber threats, we had to say it is insufficient for each and every government department to have its own way of addressing cyber attacks and cyber threats. C'est nécessaire d'avoir une politique, one policy for our government. And so this year I announced a cyber strategy for the Government of Canada, where we will work to have an enterprise strategy for the entire government to further enhance our cyber protection here. And we will be having within OCRO at the Treasury Board a specific initiative where Government of Canada employees can be reskilled and retrained in order to participate more fully in the cyber initiative that we launched. Now, the third area, and I'm sure Dom's going to be smiling now because this isn't actually a Treasury Board or solely a Treasury Board initiative, but I can't not mention digital credentials. And the reason I have to mention digital credentials is because everybody in our country who interacts with the federal government wants to have one point of contact with the federal government. That we all find that it is cumbersome and inefficient to continually provide the same information to the Government of Canada, depending on the program or the application that you're trying to launch. And so we are taking digital credentials seriously. In Budget 2024, we have allocated $11 million to get this initiative off the ground, to ensure that digital credentials, one-stop shopping, is possible for the population of our country, which includes most of the people in this room to begin with. Now, I want to say that those 3 areas of technological development are super exciting and super important to me, and probably to all of you, and really form the basis of this little opening address that I'm giving. But I think we are remiss if we don't also think about history, right? On pense de l'avenir, à l'un côté, à l'autre côté, on doit penser, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé déjà? What has already happened in our own governmental system that requires us to adopt new systems? And here, I want to talk about the necessity to look at legacy systems that need to be replaced. And I know that there is extensive work going on in this area. I've approved many submissions in order to facilitate this work and have had numerous briefings. But when we look at HR and pay, when we look at BDM, or benefits delivery modernization, as well as the digital platform at IRCC, we have to say to ourselves, in order to leverage and harness our capacity for efficient and innovative government work and services that are reliable and that are secure, we need these systems to be overhauled. And we are going to leverage the newest technologies. We are going to see those systems overhauled, and that will be a new day for government services. Now, I want to close by saying that I think innovation itself, I said AI was a bit of a buzzword, but innovation itself is a buzzword as well. And what I mean by that is sometimes when we use the word innovation, it can sound trite because it is so frequently used. And I want to say that in this room, your expertise is innovation. Your work is not trite. Your work is necessary for us to move to that new day when government services are completely digitized and we are able to operate more efficiently as a result. And we will use that efficiency as a layer onto the services that you all, as public servants, work so hard on every day. It will be additional to the work that you are doing. And here I want to first of all thank you for the work that you do every day for this country. I want to thank you for the hard work that you put in to ensure that Canadians receive the services that they are seeking. And I want to thank you especially for the work you've done during the pandemic, an extremely difficult time for everyone in our country. And I saw public servants work around the clock on weekends, on Friday and Saturday nights to ensure that our country and our government could still function. And I want to close by saying that innovation is not just about creation. It's not just about reinventing. It's not just about ensuring that these new tools, these new technological tools and goals are achieved. Innovation is also about survival. Innovation is also about survival so that we can leverage and operate in real time the technology of today and tomorrow. And so I ask you to think about innovation as something that is necessary not only for the future of our country, but also for the actual individuals, our children and our grandchildren who will benefit from the excellent work that you are doing. Donc avec ça, merci beaucoup.